creating boxes or circles. The last Wednesdays we spoke about how adjectives can emphasize a descriptor rather than someone's essence. The descriptor is similar to a label. The difference between the two is a label is how someone always sees you, and not much we can do or say to change that. A label, as defined by my Mac dictionary, is a phrase or a name applied to a person or thing, especially one that is inaccurate or restrictive. Many of us use labels to define ourselves or ask for labels to describe us. And yet, that same label can become a bias in society or in the workplace. For example, Miss, Mrs., or Miss. Guess which one I choose. Hello, I'm Miss, aka none of anyone's business, Suzanne F. Stevens, Conscious Contribution Cultivator for the YouMeWe Group. Welcome to weWednesdays, a short weekly video infusion of how to maximize your meaning by consciously contributing to your community, country, and beyond. So here's the thing about labels. They can hold us back, as they're often attached to our history or expectations or experiences, and possibly a bias. I'm reminded of a Wednesday that I shared in the Explore Your Why series, where Yetnebush Nguzi, a co-founder of the Ethiopian Center for Disability, a lawyer and a disability activist, focused on her abilities, not her disabilities. For her to change her disability label, she was on a quest to demonstrate she is more than the label that people put upon her. She shares, I need to show my family and the community that I'm a person that can also contribute, not only consume contributions from other people. I also need to contribute to the world. What I'm proving to others is that I can do things by myself. I can do things not as a blind person, not as a young person, just as a person. This determination, sense of responsibility, and love for community participation motivated Yetnebush to establish a school where hundreds of children that are disabled learn alongside their other students, allowing all learners to feel abled. Some parents are taking labeling children very seriously and are choosing to raise them as gender open, giving the child the opportunity to self-explore and therefore self-identify with a gender if they decide to. You can read more about this experiment in the Social Engineering in the Globe and Mail, an article written by Margaret Wendt called The Brave New Age of Gender-Neutral Kids. Although this experiment has good intentions of discovering an individual's human potential, there's a natural characteristics that girls and boys self-identify with. It's not all nurture. Some of these characteristics are nature. The point is, there's increasing need not to be fixed into rigid social boxes and to be recognized as circles that roll and evolve. We are holistic individuals, and labels confine us, not liberate us. Transgender is also a label, and I suspect many people have a bias when they meet such an individual. A friend of mine who works with organizations focusing on how to integrate transgender peoples into the organization culture recently suggested if there is no self-identified transgender in your organization, then there's a good chance they won't feel that their workplace is a safe place to be authentic. We saw and still do experience bias with people who are gay. Although there's a large movement in many countries, many other countries have laws against homosexuality. And even within nations where it isn't against the law, a bias persists. Being aware of a bias starts the process of removing it. We need to appreciate that we're all people first. And as mentioned in the second video in the bias series, we all have a common ground to which we can build relationships or, at minimum, exercise tolerance. We are not in squares, but in circles, which is why I like that we changed our YouMeWe logo from a square to a circle. We are holistic people that intersect with each other in a multitude of ways. Where we find those intersections, we have the opportunity to nurture those relationships. There is a tremendous video called TV to Denmark. The link is below. Now, I will warn you, have a tissue, because it makes me cry every time I watch it. Labels attempt to define us. Allowing people to authentically reveal themselves will remove us from boxes and allow us to celebrate our unique differences. When I interviewed Ila Gandhi, she shared a perspective on the world that we all can embrace. She said, we should appreciate our differences, embrace it, accept it, and then learn to live with it. Killing diversity, which is what we are doing presently, which is the worst thing that mankind has done in the last few centuries. We have decided that diversity is bad. Any diversity needs to be killed. That's what Ila says. And yet, diversity of culture, sexual orientation, gender identification, religion, race, and perspectives is what makes humanity interesting. An article again in the Globe and Mail, One Foot in the Past Looking into the Future, says, pluralism does not mean the elimination of differences, but to embrace the differences. Genuine pluralism understands that diversity does not weaken a society, it strengthens it. In an over-shrinking, ever more diverse world, a genuine sense of pluralism is the indispensable foundation for human peace and progress. Yeah, okay, I'm a little on a soapbox, but I have always had the perspective of treating people equally different, meaning treat people as equals and respect their differences. By taking away labels, we promote the authentic person to emerge and be accepted for their uniqueness. In the meantime, perhaps asking people how they want to be addressed may be best. Or use folks or friends, although friends can be a little presumptuous, but it is inclusive. But please don't use the label guys. I know the Oxford Dictionary defines guys as a man, guy as a man, and yet somehow that plural means people of either sex. Many women don't identify with being called a guy. As for me, it's just suggesting that a term used to identify males should also be accepted to identify females. Don't agree? That's okay. We are different, and that is what makes the world round, not square, and therefore will continue to turn regardless of our different perspectives. So next time you want to place a label on a person, consider consciously, is the label my way of revealing a bias? What if I just remove the label? What would people say about me? How would others feel? How would my organization be perceived? How would our relationships progress? How would my organization grow? So until next time, unlabel your label and make your contributions count.